It's never going to change. I'm going to beat that to death.
I didn't say that.
Midnight
Every single time we do it. So greetings, everyone. We're doing a special Radio Gunk podcast today. We are recording it, so this is not a live one, but hopefully when we do throw it up on Twitch or on YouTube, some of us will be able to participate in the feedback of it, and we can talk it through. So I don't have my usual cast of characters with me today. Who I do have is my friend Kelly, who you know as Yoda Quiver Stern on our forum, and Sketchy from Sketchy Press, who happens to do a podcast similar to ours in a lot of ways, except he kind of gears into the Brent world a little bit more than we ever would. So, Sketchy, say hi.
Hello. Yeah, it's I understand that that's a good way to explain it, because you kind of get there's only so much Hatley one can really listen to before you start going nuts.
Well, I want to dive into that a little bit. And Kelly, hi.
Hey, what's up? Part of the Torn Fishnet crew on Radio Gunk.
Okay, and our special guest today, and it's all because of Kelly, is Mike, who you know as Manson. And I wasn't really sure what to call him. His name is Mike Waters, but you know him as Manson from the Bubba the Love Sponge show. I'm not sure if he's back with us yet.
I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Hi.
How's it going?
Excellent. We are so happy to have you today. There were so many things that we wanted to talk about. I am a little bit sad that we're not doing it as a live show, because nothing spurs us on and makes us laugh harder than people's commentary as we're doing a show, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike does a show called the Cluster F Show on Twitch, and I think it's Mondays through Fridays, 8 to 11.
You got it.
Is that right? Okay.
Right.
And are there other shows that you're also doing on Twitch?
Well, Monday through Thursday is Cluster F 8 to 11. Then Ned in Your Head is Friday mornings 8 to 11. That's where I do nothing but 3 hours of just parody songs and just getting my mind right and drinking and just trying to get everybody going on a Friday morning. We do a bar show Friday nights. And I'm doing a lot of specialty shows. I'm bringing in a cohort of mine, 25 Cent, who used to be on the Bubba the Love Sponge show, and we're gonna do some stuff that's gonna be probably on our website.
Can you help me understand drinking at 8 a.m. in the morning on a Friday?
I think when you've done mornings for 23 years, I mean, we were always up for anything. We've been up since 4:30 in the morning. So at 8 o'clock, somebody puts a shot in front of your face. You're like, it's about time.
Jesus Christ. So, right before we got on air, I was saying to God, okay, I'm going to call you Manson.
No, that's
okay.
fine.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So right before we got on air, I was telling him that I was never really a big Bubba the Love Sponge fan, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And I feel like it was like listening to a live wrestling show. Like Bubba always sounded like he was on speed, and it was so much to follow. And then if you kind of came in kind of late in the Bubba realm of things, it's not like a soap opera where you could just kind of grab on and kind of run with it. It's kind of like, all right, there's a lot of inside jokes and there's a lot of things that I don't really understand. So it was really hard, I think, for me personally to kind of jump on board with you guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's understandable. I mean, it's like it was a super fast-paced show. I mean, just ridiculously fast-paced show. And, I mean, whatever drugs anyone needs to take to do radio at 4:30 in the morning, I don't begrudge them, because it's really can be a grind. But
I'm talking to you, Artie. Yeah, go ahead.
Some people were on drugs, some people weren't. Most of us were.
Yeah, well, I think you would have to be to do that. How many years were you with that show?
I was with that show for 23 years.
Jesus,
Wow.
that's a long time.
Oh, there go my dogs.
Shut them dogs up.
Shut them dogs up.
What the hell's wrong with you? Whatever happened to like closing them off into another room where they cannot be heard? I don't understand.
I got 6 dogs. It's hopeless.
Sick dogs. Who are you? Who are you, Dr. Doolittle?
I'm Dr. Idiot. It's like, don't ever get 6 dogs. I'm telling, I'm warning everybody right now. 6 dogs. It's a pack of dogs, and they're uncontrollable.
Jesus Christ. Don't let them loose when 3-year-olds are around. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, Manson's he's got dogs, horses. He's got the whole gamut out there.
Cats. Yeah.
Horses, yeah.
Where are you? Where are you in Florida?
I'm about 20 miles outside of Tampa, north of Tampa. It's
20 miles north of Tampa.
Crazy down here. They just grow. I mean, everybody's coming down here because I guess the COVID, and we're open, so everybody's just pouring down here. They're building houses like it's insane.
Wow.
It is insane. Your real estate. I have a place in Florida, also on the Gulf Coast. I was actually in Ybor City, as a matter of fact, just last week, and just came back to New York this week, which is a shit show. But yeah, people are buying houses near me, sight unseen.
No, if you put your house up, you will have 10 offers the next day. It's insane.
I fear the worst, though. I fear another 2008. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
For sure.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck. But the reality is, it's like, okay, if I sell my $300,000 house for $400,000, where am I buying a house? Like, where am I buying something comparable to live in?
Unless you're planning to rent for a couple years till the bottom drops out, you're screwed.
Mhm.
Totally screwed. So hopefully you own where you're at.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, I have questions. Where is Bubba these days?
He's on, I don't remember which AM station. He's doing AM radio. I think it's on a pay for play station. They may be letting him do it for free because he's bringing such cachet to the AM dial. But he's just doing radio, and he just ran off all the talent that surrounded him. And I mean, we had really an incredibly talented cast when we were on Sirius with Spice and Brent and Ned, myself. I mean, it was quite a fivesome, and he ran every single one on.
So would you say that he self-destructed in the most epic fashion possible? Like, seriously?
It's almost like a medical condition where he wants to destroy himself, because you'll never find it. He's been handed so many incredible
opportunities,
and just tossed them right down the drain with stupidity. Excuse me. I mean, there's never like a good reason, like, oh, that happened. That happens. No, it was like idiocy. Like just motherfucking the boss on the air. Sex tapes, ratings tampering. It's like a who's who, like a ratings screwing up your job for idiots is what he could have written. It's like we should be right now in LA, with some kind of television show. I mean, he was going to do a talk show, and he filmed it, and they had a pilot in Chicago, and they're getting ready to sign the deal, and we're going to be big TV stars. And the guy that was in charge of it was Randy Michaels. He was a big broadcast guy. And right before they were about to sign it, he got hemmed up on some, what do they call it? Sexual harassment charges. I think he was head of the Chicago Sun-Tribune at the time, and he was accused of doing, taking off his shirt and just being crazy or something. And so they cut the deal right there. And so once again, he was not necessarily his fault that time, but shot in the foot, man.
Manson, I first got started with Bubba, in the Sirius days, and going back to like some of the Bubba Raw stuff and things like that, it's amazing to me that at one time early on, before there was even really, the big boom of live streaming and stuff, there was a full video production team. I mean, you guys had video, paid subscription stuff. I mean, it was kind of ahead of its time. And then that fell apart too, which is that sucks.
Yeah, I think if he'd have concentrated on more of like a YouTube thing back then, because we had a full video department, editors, every film, cameras, we had everything. Just didn't really use it right because we were fat and nasty, so working for Sirius.
Well, that's a weird thing to me. So, okay, so here's Bubba, who I guess gets the phone call from Howard to join his stations. And I get how you guys probably had like this great contract to start off with, but when it came to renewing it, they came back with dick, basically, right?
Basically, yeah, for our show, for sure. I mean, we should have got a raise. We were killing it.
For all shows. I mean, they wound up actually disbanding the entirety of 101 and just made it, completely Howard driven. And then I think Riley Martin and one or two other in-house produced shows. And I don't get it. When you had us on in the afternoons, Howard in the morning, us in the afternoons, and Scott Farrell at night. Yeah.
I mean, that's three legendary, and that was back when everybody was in their prime. I mean,
Absolutely. So it always makes me think, and I really feel this because we see it happening right now on Sirius as well. Do you think like a Howard with his $90 million was just trying to kind of marble hoard? Like, do you think that he had some sort of responsibility towards the the destruction of a great contract and a great show on Sirius with you guys?
I really couldn't tell you. There could have, nobody really ever, told me the real reason that it happened. And it could have been many different things behind the scene. It could have been what you're saying. It could have been just, when you tell the boss to go fuck himself on the air, that could have just been all it was. I don't know. Or it could have been totally a Howard thing. I mean, he was the boss. He was always like, oh, I don't have the control of those. When you're getting paid $500 million, you basically get control of.
Of course, you have control. You have say with everything that fucking happens.
Yeah,
and these are his channels. So how could he not have say with it?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so
was this during the Sirius years? Was this when the whole sex scandal happened, or was this pre or prior or post?
That was post. That was post Sirius.
Post Sirius.
And so, the sex scandal really isn't what did him in.
No, I think he could have rid that out. Honestly,
no, he tries to pretend like it is, but it's really the ratings that fucked him, in my opinion.
Right.
No, he did. He wrote it out. I mean, he got fired from 102.5 for maybe they use the sex tape as an excuse on that one. And then we went to 98.7. It was called Bubba 98.7. He was doing mornings. I was doing mornings. I was doing middays. I was doing afternoons.
Wow.
And we were killing it. We were totally, out of the box. Bubba, 98.7. He played whatever the hell he wanted, did whatever the hell he wanted, and he screwed it up with a ratings deal. I mean, that you could have taken that station fucking nationwide.
Wow.
That was a fun station too. I really enjoyed it. It was really a lot of fun.
I mean, I put my heart and soul into that, man. I was working night and day for that. And to just have it pissed away, you're putting out the product. You're putting out exactly what you set out to do. You're excited. You're like, nobody's doing this, and we're doing it. And we've been kicked to the curb 3 different times, 4 different times, 5 different times, and look at us now. And then he fucked it all up.
So wait, so what happens with something like where you're doing your own thing, like afternoons or late day or evenings or whatever? Why could they have kept you on, or were you just part of the Bubba entity and everybody had to go?
I was, I think I was just tainted. I was always too intertwined with the Bubba show. So
you had the scarlet bee on your head.
Yeah.
I got it. I still got it, I think.
Well, that's a really big issue, I have to tell you, because you are so synonymous with Bubba and with what he did and with his downfall, and it's kind of like being one of the fucking Brady kids. I mean, what do you do after that doesn't have you as part of what you're known for? And I always saw that with what happened with Brent. I just find his trajectory towards becoming somebody on the Howard Stern show, and say not you, a really, really weird thing. because I see you as such a more talented human being than fucking, whipping boy Brent, that I'm not really understanding how he's the one who winds up being able to succeed with the number one radio show in America and not you.
Right.
Let me tell you, if I had Brent's personality, I would be president of the United States. I'd be making. I'm a victim of my own. I'm just laid back and I'm just wait for things to happen. And I was making great money and balling at Sirius. I didn't try to make a name for myself. I didn't try to network. I didn't do anything because I didn't have to. He let me do whatever I wanted. As far, he did. He there's nothing I ever asked him or said I wouldn't do, or that he would just go, whatever, do it. You don't have to do it. Why would I go? Why wouldn't I just enjoy that lifestyle? And that's what I did. 23 years later, when nobody even knows you're out of work or available, it comes back to haunt you. But I'm still.
So do you think that Bubba actually? Brent actually promoted himself more or made himself more available?
Oh, Brent is the ultimate promoter. Brent is the ultimate BS artist and the ultimate promoter. He can, you'll be talking to Brent and he'll be in an argument with you or trying to convince you something, and you're like, that is 100% fucking false in your mind, and you're like, but he says it with such authority, I almost believe it.
Well, I was reviewing Brent's resume not that long ago, and I was just really, really curious about his trajectory as we're mentioning this. So I just happened to pull it up. So, this is directly from his LinkedIn, which made me chuckle. Where he considers himself to be a radio professional and, on par with Howard, actually. He many times has made himself known as being, part of the same crew as Howard. And so I started looking at some of the things that he's done. I'm hoping you guys can actually see this. So Academy of Radio and Television Broadcasting for a year. College Criminal Justice for a year, St. Petersburg College for a year. Let's move on, shall we? The Marines for 4 years. Okay. Promotions assistant, part-time air talent for JCOR. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
JCOR. That was
JCOR.
JCOR broadcast where I started out.
Okay. So that was 1 year, 8 months. Then graphics, camera, audio for the Home Shopping Network. Of course, everybody goes through the Home Shopping Network for 1 year and 4 months. Then promotions director and on-air talent for 2 years and 5 months. Doesn't even tell you. Oh, for Thunder 103.5. Executive producer, co-host at WTBT for 2 years and 8 months.
Yep. That was right next to us.
Oh, really? Okay. Executive producer, on-air talent.
That's where, when he was executive producer for WTBT, that's when he wormed his way into becoming Bubba's producer just by getting in his ear, as any chance he did. That's his specialty.
That's what he does. Okay, so right. So here, the rest of this is all I Heart Bubba, blah, 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 for many, many years. And candidate for city council, executive producer, on-air talent, of course, still part of the same job now for Cox Radio, executive producer, writer, on-air talent, program director for 13 years. And then he goes to this fucking cult in California. So this is when he left in 2013, I guess, moves to LA and goes to work for something called Society International, which literally is a cult. It's literally a fucking cult. And
I don't know much about that. Can you just kind of give me the cliff notes on that one? Is that the Neil Strauss thing?
Please let me elucidate. Yes. Okay, hold on.
I never heard of this one.
Okay, this is great. Okay, here we are. The Society. I pulled it up for my friends. Okay. The Society is an exclusive, high-level international personal growth networking and masterminding group created by 7-time New York Times bestselling author Neil Strauss. Society exists to provide cutting-edge training, developmental materials, and one-of-a-kind adventures to an exclusive global fraternity of like-minded people focused on becoming their best selves. Members encourage personal and professional growth through honesty, accountability, and brotherhood. So it's this weird kind of here, honesty, trust, respect, all the things Brent doesn't have, action, charity.
But do they swing?
But do they swing? Yeah. So that was like a weird thing to me that he joined this kind of curious grouping.
Now it's coming back to me. He used to talk about this guy, and this guy wrote a couple books or something, and
Like on how to pick up chicks or something.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think he was like, some people, he's a known person. Neil Strauss is a known person, but I still think it's a cult.
Totally a cult. I totally agree. So how does he swing his fucking way back around? Okay, so he failed in LA because he was at 8 months at Sun Broadcast Group doing Mary Lou Henner's talk show.
Oh, that sounds
And Mary Lou Henner is one of only like 17 people in the world who can remember everything from childhood. So she's kind of like a oddball herself.
How exciting! How exciting!
Which he claims he was there. He claims he was there to quote unquote teach her how to become a broadcaster, and he would air check her. And I'm like, dude, you don't even air check yourself.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, but he could pretend like he's good at it.
Yeah. So he 9, 10, 11. So he lasted in LA a year. And then, a year, because then he went to iHeartMedia for the Lisa Ann Walter show. I have no idea who she is. And then voila, he winds up at SiriusXM. And so the curious thing to us is that he wound up there in August of 2014, but never really mentioned on air for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how did that work? I mean, I'm curious what your thoughts are on some of the workings on the Stern Show, because Brent is known for basically saying that Howard was like a really, really tough boss to work for, and that he was no fun, and he bitched about things for hours on end, and then would have an interview, and then continued bitching afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all I know, is what Brent would tell me. And he was constantly saying, like, originally before we went to work for Sirius, Brent was up there getting ready for us to do the show for like 6-8 months. And allegedly, he became Howard's right-hand man. And then when he went back up there, he was always had Howard's ear, and he was always cracking Howard up with his incredible Brentisms. And that's the story I got. But so I have no idea how any of this happened, or maybe Howard did like Brent and got enamored with his swinging stories.
I don't know. I think that Brent lured Howard in with being able to be somebody on air that would share information that nobody's fucking looking for. I mean, I can't even imagine that anybody cares about Brent swinging. I mean, maybe it was interesting for like a hot minute, but then when it got to that point where he was getting fired, which I don't care what anybody else tells you, I'm positive he got fired.
So my theory is how he grabbed Stern's ear, and kind of goes back to what Manson said. I know that Brent's always he can recite information that he's read over and over and over.
He's got a very good memory.
Right, but he doesn't have an original thought, but he can recall stuff. And, Stern's always said over the years that, he loves talking radio and stuff. And so do I. I love that kind of stuff. I'm kind of a nerd, but, Brent would get on there and start talking about stuff that was posted on All Access, even when he was on Bubba's show. And, Howard ate that stuff up because Brent would talk about ratings and tower signals and stuff like this. And
yeah,
but who gives a fuck? Honestly,
but I think Stern,
Howard was into that stuff.
Yeah, Stern thought it was like actual knowledge and not just shit that he read. And it could have been bullshit too. True. And so I think over the years he just kind of thought he knew more than he really did, and he got kind of bamboozled, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right, because I think that listening to something like Brent crying in the fetal position in a drunken stupor about how fucked up things are, I feel is also part of it, because Howard always likes to hire people that he might think are intelligent but are definitely lesser than he is, and definitely people that he could, poke and poke and poke and fucking poke. And to some extent they're all kind of whack packers. And Brent is part of that.
I mean, that's
Well, Howard also has that military fascination.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. His stolen valor. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're exactly right. He is fascinated by anybody who's been in the military, and Brent likes to always push that bullshit knowledge. I mean, Brent is full of bullshit, and I kind of feel like that's what made him so popular on Bubba's show, actually.
Oh, I mean, I did a song called "Brent Baffled Me with Bullshit."
I was gonna say, can we get the Ned drop of "Baffled Me with Bullshit" real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, he was. I mean, known for that. I mean, that was his thing. We were all like, Brent is full of bullshit. He's the world's biggest bullshitter. And hey, that works. Obviously, it works for a while until it doesn't work anymore.
I found a video of when he was doing his city council tour, and one of them says he was like, he gets into this thing about how if he becomes city council member or whatever, that
oh, this thing's playing noise. It's trying to play the Brent song.
He gets into this thing about how he wants to build movie theaters, and he was like, I have a really good relationship with the LA Lakers and Magic Johnson. I could give him a call, and I'm sure he could come and help fund some movie theaters. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Jesus.
He said it with authority, man. You know what I think? Like when Brent was on the Bubba show, I mean, that was, I don't know, when was that? Like, that's like 15 years ago. And, he's talking about swinging with his wife. His first wife. And they're, in their 30s. It's a lot different than somebody who's around 50 or however in his, I don't know where, like mid 40s or late 40s, talking about swinging, with his wife who's no spring chicken either. I don't think a lot of people, I mean, the only thing people would, I don't really give a shit about anybody swinging, but the only thing I think most people would care about it would be if they are hot, because then they can
exactly
in their mind.
Right.
I mean, but you're picturing those. That
you mean solid 7 isn't really what would appeal to most people. I have to tell you, I when they would talk about that on air, I would absolutely change the channel. I felt like it was so vile. And talk to me just for a hot second about Caitlin. I'm told you were at their wedding, and I'm just curious what kind of character she is.
She's I don't have anything against Caitlin. She's just very Brent. She's very Brentish. She's like a female Brent. It's like they get together and they're just like bam, bam, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They just feed off each other. I mean,
I don't know. I just see self-destruction written all over them. I just, I
mean, talk about, okay, this is the desperate attempt to go, the swinger route instead of trying to put on a compelling radio broadcast. But like, can I give you my quick Brent spiel?
Yeah,
because I just want to get the truth to get out there, and everything I say, what you get for being a truthful good guy is you get screwed in the end. But I wouldn't take it back. I can sleep at night. I've always been honest and tried to be a decent person. And I had no problem with Brent. I always, I kind of liked Brent. I knew he was full of shit, and I knew that he treated his underlings kind of crappy sometimes, and he was full of himself. But I could get along with him, and we talked politics and this. And like one time I did the a comedy tour here in Florida, the Pagans and Potheads comedy tour, and I said, "Hey Brent, why don't you open up for me?" Because I knew he was into the same things I was in, marijuana and atheism. And we did great. We sold out, everywhere we went. I mean, it was mainly, to be honest, it was because they came to see me dressed up as Jesus singing songs. But I included him in that, and I always treated Brent good. I had a good relationship with him. And then he did the Howard Stern Sirius thing, and then I guess he gets fired, and he's like, he wants to meet up with me, and he says he's gonna do a Twitch channel. I said, okay, that's cool. And he's like, maybe we can get together and do something. And I was like, sure. I was like, that's what I'm doing now, and I'm paying the bills, and I'm liking not having a boss. I'm loving it. And so he comes down here, and me and Donna go out to lunch with him and Caitlin, and he's he's getting all this information about Twitch from me, and he's talking about all the things he wants to do, and he wants to do a show with me, and I'm like, hey, sure. I mean, me and Brent have done shows before together. We whether it be Radio IO and many of the formats we've been on, and I was always able to do a pretty decent show with Brent, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. It'll benefit us both, and let's see what we can make of of the Brent and Mike deal. And then he came down and he did his own deal, and he never even called me. Not at all. And I'm telling you, I'm the only person who ever actually gave him the time of day and acted like, that they liked him at all. Or I always treated him, very well. And then in the end, he fucks me like that. And it's like, I was like, why do people, I have something written on my back, like, fuck me. It's like, all I do is try to do my hard work and do my best and be honest and try to succeed, be part of a team. And people just want to fuck me. So who wants to fuck? Anybody out there want to fuck me? I'm available.
There's a lot of people like that.
It's the no good deed goes unpunished. I'm sure that you probably gave some invaluable information about how to get his Twitch channel started. I mean, I've had people who, ask me a million questions about how to start their own podcast and what mics to get and what to use and whatever. And then, left me and went and did their own show with everything I taught them, and then just kind of fucked me over. I mean, fool me once and all that shit.
And Manson, maybe you can help clear something up, I'll go ahead and bet that you probably know absolutely nothing about it. But when I first started making my little YouTube videos and stuff, didn't even have a podcast or anything, and Brent got real butthurt, and then he would go on Twitch and they would go on these long diatribes and talk about how, well, quite frankly, on one episode, Caitlin's going off and she was like, we don't do anything to these people. And basically basically what they came out and said was that Sketchy Press, myself, was basically working for you to harass them. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, they were like, they come to our shows and they harass us. And I'm like, I was like, Mike better than I do. But just from what I know of him, I was like, there's no way in hell he's doing anything like that. There's just no way.
Well, I think what happened, it was, like Brent never, called me, or, he totally kind of dissed me on the thing, never even had the courtesy to say he wasn't interested in working with me. And
had you reached out to him?
No, I think, one time I was like, after like a month or so, I was like, hey, Brent, are we doing a show? And he's like, sure. And then he never called me again, and then he had 25 on his show. And I was like, oh, well, I see that. And then he's going to be on the Bubba show. And I was like, oh, now you two who both screwed me can work together against me for some reason, because I'm such an asshole. Mm-hmm. And so I got on, I think it was, Who Are These Podcasts?
Mm-hmm.
They were reviewing Brent and Caitlin's show. That's it's easy to just trash it because it's not a good show.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's a bad show. It's a really bad show. And so I just made fun of the show. And, he coming back at me, he's texting me saying, oh, I'm going to get an attorney. You're liable. You're slandering me. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Typical.
All I said was, the worst things I said was he was probably fired from Sirius because they were sick of him, and that his show isn't very good. That's all I said.
Okay, he's very pseudo litigious, because I of course also received a letter from him, and I shot him down immediately, and I'm like, dude, read my TOS, and I am not responsible for other content that is posted on here. I was like, and besides that, don't throw your legal bullshit around at me. I was like, all you have to do is ask. Don't be like a dick.
Talker. Sketchy Press. I only wish that he was Brent was much more successful, because you do a great job of skewering him. And I mean, it's just his show.
It's hard work.
I don't know if his show is so bad if it'll ever get any popular, which is going to limit your audience, unfortunately, because it's really good. Like, I remember like I had Matt Lloyd Spice on my show, and I was telling him about you guys, and he texted me that later that night. He said, "I'm in a sketchy press vortex."
Oh my gosh.
Hey, those are coming from you and him. I will take those. Those are big compliments to me, so I will take them. And just to clarify, I mean, it was never intended to be Brent centric. It just turned out that way.
Yeah,
And,
it's good that you set your sights low and you went to Brent as opposed to me doing this fucking Howard thing, which is such a bear.
They are actually like sending whispers to their listeners of the show now, just going after them.
oh
too.
yeah, it's so weird. They're like, "Oh man, I saw you were on a stream, and I thought we were friends. I'm really disappointed in you." And
It's
I'm like,
really weird.
dude, your audience is not your best friend. I mean, that's
I'll tell you what's not weird. You want to know what's not weird? Drugs make people paranoid. And so that's all I'm going to say. I think.
yeah, but he was always kind of like that, wasn't he? Manson, like when he would like when you guys would get listener email, he would respond with like, "Fuck you, you fucker," and
if somebody called, and gave him more than one or two comebacks, he'd be like, "I will meet you down at the corner. I got the Gold's Gym,
let's meet at Gracie Tampa and see who can walk out under their own power, buddy.
Coming from a guy who lost in 39 seconds in his only fight.
Oh, what a fucking loser! I was thinking about when he started doing the whole soft swinging thing with Caitlin on air, and and we had done a whole show really just kind of based around the fact that he was fired, and he went on air and said, Radio Gunk, they fucking suck, they're fired, and it's just not true. And it's like, you know what? I know it's fucking, like, I know that it's true. He forgets that I know people that either work there or have worked there, that he's called and told the whole fucking story about what happened. Same thing with Shuli. Shuli was given a fucking choice. It's like, well, you either stay for like some shit pay or, go on your merry way. So they kind of forced him out based on the fact that, I don't believe for a second he was making 150 grand. There's no fucking way. But, it's the same story. They kind of push you out. But I think with Brent, the whole fiasco with going to LA and swinging and the talk of all these fucking drugs was insanity. I wanted to share this little tidbit. I don't know if you guys remember this from the show we did on Brent, because of course it was ceremoniously fucking deleted from YouTube. Check this out. Somebody found this and sent it to me when they were doing the soft swinging thing. Okay, it's from a forum called The Underground. I'm not a swinger, nor do I want to swing, but there's a swinging couple in New York City, Jersey area, and hooking up with them would be in the plot of a nationwide radio broadcast.
Oh my!
Don't you like that?
It's lovely.
And
what is that avatar picture of? What is that?
There you go.
Oh my.
There you go. Right. So yeah, this was sent to me. And so it just kind of makes you know that, all this swinging thing was just really to get him on air and to get Howard interested. Because of course Howard was interested more in the cock portion of it than he was in the vaginal portion of it. But this was just sent to me to show that, they were perpetuating this as their bit for the show.
One of my favorite things about that whole LA, I don't know trip, I guess, but
yes,
Ronnie, did his thing about Brent saying, he was like, man, he couldn't sit down. He was in and out of the bathroom over and over and over and da 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 da. And then Shuli, and I think Shuli and a couple other people even say that, like, Brent just kept sitting there towards the end of it, just like sulking, going, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in my radio broadcast career. I'm over. I'm done. And I'm like, so like he knew it was bad. He knew he fucked up. He fucked up.
He fucked up. That's all there is. And apparently the second girl that he was supposed to be swinging with didn't know she was there to actually have sex with him. She thought that one of her friends was just hooking her up on a date.
Right.
And it wound up that, Brent pushed himself on her because they wanted stuff for the camera, and they were very, very, very close to a lawsuit. Very.
And you know what you've heard their Brent and Caitlin's version of that story about why that girl, quote unquote, didn't agree with him on the air about if they slept together, right?
No, tell me.
So their excuse is that young lady who was a Playboy Cybergirl playmate, by the way.
What does that mean in the fucking world that we live in today?
Well, I just know she's a very attractive young lady. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. But their excuse was that she quote unquote wanted to date him for the rest of the days, and he told her he didn't want to date. He just wanted to hook up. So she decided to lie about them having sex.
Oh, right.
It was all BS. He used to do it the same thing, back on the other show, and we all knew it's like 90% of this is just BS, and it's all. But he's good at He's good at BS. He's the Chris Angel of radio. He's all smoke and mirrors. There's no talent behind it, but he manages to get it done. Yeah, I think I figured out why. What happened with him was, I think somebody probably told him when he was starting his Twitch channel, was that if he had me on a bunch and that people found out about my Twitch channel, that all those people would come seek me out and leave him high and dry. So he completely cut me out of it.
Oh,
no, he's losing. Fear not. He's burying himself. He's losing views daily.
Yep.
So he used to average around 200. Now he's averaging about 122, and that's happened just in the past month. So
you give me those numbers when he first signed on. Those Howard Stern people. Brought him out. You give me those numbers, and I'll build him and retire on that shit. I'm not going to piss those numbers away. I'm going to give them content out the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wasn't he getting suspensions left and right when he first started that channel?
He averages about a suspension once every 2 months if you break it down.
For what, basically, though?
Well, the one episode in I think it was November 20th, they decided to do this remote broadcast from this Secrets place called Secrets Hideaway. It's a swingers resort. They got pulled off the air live. They didn't have the replay taken down.
I saw
they
that.
got pulled off of Twitch live. That's hard as fuck to do.
I mean, nobody's checking that shit out live usually,
Right. That's pretty hard to do. But and if you listen to their answers about why they got, one time they'll say, we don't know, they don't tell us anything. Then they'll come back and say, well, they've gotten really good about telling us why. Now we know exactly why. And then they'll say, nope, they don't tell us anything. Basically, it's because they say sexual shit. I mean, explicit shit. And there's a line you can kind of walk there, and they don't know how to walk it at all. And
it's got to be defensible. You just can't be just puerile, just over and over, just in your face sexual content.
Right. I mean, they'll straight up say just hardcore type shit, and you just can't do that. And then, of course, the excessive use of alcohol and recreational illegal drug use. I mean, look, I get it, but you can't just keep saying that shit over and over and over. And they didn't even have their channels set to mature audience until a week ago.
Nice. Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that they're making enough on Twitch to be afforded, they have a nice apartment and they buy a lot of drugs. Is that making them money to live on?
I don't know. I would think not.
That's kind of how I feel. So I'm wondering where their money comes from.
Well, here's what I'm told. Here's what I was told. Can I interject? I'm sorry. I know this and I'll forget if I don't say it right now. So when they first got on air, the deal was facilitated by somebody who I had interviewed with to facilitate the Twitch channel years ago. And I just couldn't commit to the amount of time that was expected in terms of being able to really generate money. And I pointed to Bubba's show, when Bubba's show first went on air on Twitch, and he had all the licensing, everything was kind of tied into those guys that were doing that whole thing for them. That's a really, really good amount of money. I mean, I think you can really
Right.
live on having a solid, just think about if people are giving you, $10 a month, and it doesn't even matter that you have like 115 people watching it. If you have like 5,000 subscribers, and that's the minimum that somebody is giving you, it does work out to your advantage, if you have other things tied into it. Maybe you're monetized on YouTube, and you have other and of course she has her scary good fans only or only fan stream. So
Yeah.
as we've decided, she's in the top 0.1% of
Yeah, according to Brent, when he was on Bubba's show, he says that she's in the top 0.07, I think, percentile, which is just impossible.
All those girls on OnlyFans say that.
There's no way that he's got 5,000 subscribers.
No, God,
No.
I mean,
no way.
I can't believe he's making hardly any money. I mean, I like my circumstances. I brought people with me from a stream where they, are used to paying for stuff because they've been paying for, our Radio IO and all our stuff for years.
The golden ticket.
They've been playing for Sirius. They paid for Sirius. All these
Right.
people are used to paying for content. And so when they came with me, they were used to, to paying for content. And I was able to make a living. Brent, I don't think any of those people from Sirius are subscribing to the Brent channel.
No, they're not.
No, I don't think so. I do want to share something really funny with you. So this was on my show, maybe, I don't know. Oh, well, I guess it was October during my birthday. So somebody got this for me from them. They had no idea it was for me, which is the best part about it, because
I
they know
love
exactly
this.
who I am.
I love
So this is like such a funny, it just makes me cry every time I watch it. So
Right.
let me go ahead and share this with you, because it's just ridiculous at its highest order. All right, here we go.
What's up, Monique? It's Brent and Caitlin Hatley.
Hey, Monique.
Your friend Bonnie wanted us to wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday. We hope you're doing great. And like she wanted us to let you know about soft swinging.
He's Jordan.
Hot. It's really hot. And it's a good,
Yeah.
fun way to kind of start testing the waters. And there's different levels of soft swinging, right?
Right.
So in Jersey City, when we lived there, part of the soft swinging, we met with a couple. We had drinks, went dancing. And then at the end of the night,
Who's looking for this? Who?
Swingers.
At least she put on makeup for you.
That's true. She did fancy up for me.
Yes.
I mean, he's like literally, he's out on his feet, man.
Brent is just like staring into the camera, just like
Look at the face. What's going on here?
With one of his metal shirts on.
Of course, the only metal shirt, this Misfit shirt, that's all he fucking owns. All right, hang on, let's continue.
Oh no, he's got Danzig.
All right,
her up,
look at her.
we made out.
Ugh.
That's really
Ugh.
what we did. We just kind of like touched each other and made out in public on the sidewalk.
Out on the street.
But then another version
I
of
would
soft
say-
swinging,
Last week.
last weekend we went to a swingers resort, and we ended up doing a lot of oral with this really hot couple. It was really
Super hot couple.
So-
For you, almost
Oh
a
my
resort
God.
would be more fun. You should get with your girlfriends, go to a resort, being naked and comfortable in your skin. And then
Yes,
see
just
what
like you.
happens. Maybe nothing happens, or maybe you have a great time.
Yeah, there's no pressure at all. Make it a birthday present to yourself. Go to Caliente. It's in the Tampa Bay area. It's
Oh.
a beautiful resort. You get
Nobody's pushy.
nobody's pushing you naked by the pool and just enjoy your body and looking at others.
Oh.
They really put it all into
And
this
then
one,
you
huh?
can get into some soft swinging, some
Mm.
fun.
Yeah.
He looks like he's about to fall over.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh, just
teetering.
amazing time, Monique. So treat yourself for your birthday, and you'll wonder why you never did it.
Look at her.
Super fucking steamy. You should
Really
really try. And then, I don't know if you're married or have a significant other.
I haven't watched this in a while, and it just kills me every fucking time. I'm literally tearing up at their ridiculousness.
What are they thinking?
Oh,
What
dude,
are
and
they
this is one of the tamer ones. I've seen some that are just
Yeah.
fucking disgusting. I mean,
Oh, really?
Oh God. Oh yeah, she does like
She
she shakes her ass, and
Oh, yeah.
man, it's bad.
Oh,
I'll
so
give her credit. She's lost weight since this one.
Oh, really?
She has.
I feel a little slighted though that I didn't get the super horny one.
Oh.
And hey, Mike, so I hope I'm not backtracking too much. And I know that way back when, Brent always talked about swinging with Amanda, and he tried to get that going for a while, and then at least on the air, it sounded like they kind of dabbled in it for a short time, but I don't think it ended up working out very well for either one of them.
No, I think they did it a couple times, and I don't think she was into it, which
Right.
Got sucked into it because Brent probably hounded her into it.
Yeah,
Right.
because it's what's that?
And then they got divorced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a similar thing happened. So I remember back on Bubba that, Bubba was supposedly going to pay him to go down to, I don't know, some resort, and they went down, but then they never left the hotel. They never left the room.
Yeah, it was a typical, bait and switch Hatley deal where he just, he faked the whole thing probably. That's just what.
Because he told people that on Stern, he was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go down to this thing, and Shuli and them can cover it." And so the staff bought tickets to go to this resort. They booked rooms, they booked everything, and then at the last minute, Hatley comes in and he's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't buy any tickets. We're not going."
Seriously?
Yeah, dead serious. I'll get you the clip. He's like, and Stern's like, "What do you mean you're not going?" And he was like, "Well, you have to have a credit card, and I don't carry a credit card." And it was like a whole thing, and but the producers had already bought rooms at this resort to cover the whole thing, and he backs out at the last minute.
Wow.
That's
That's Brent. That's Brent for you. Okay, so was there something else I wanted to ask you about, Caitlin?
Yeah, Monique, you want to know who Ned is?
Yeah, can we talk about Ned?
Yeah, can we talk about Ned?
Yeah.
So I don't know who Ned is, and I'm very confused when you're like fucking Sybil, because I don't understand who you are versus who Manson is versus who Ned is. And Sketchy and Kelly were both telling me that Ned is quite possibly one of the best characters ever to come to radio since the beginning of time.
I mean, yeah, I humbly think he is probably the greatest radio character of all time. And Howard Stern was a big fan of Ned's. That may have been why certain people got the job. You never know. I mean, he was a fan of my stuff. Yeah, I mean, Ned. See, I give credit where credit is due. I'm not a sociopath like a lot of people. The way that Bubba handled the Ned deal and the way we worked together on that made the character so believable, because we just we couldn't see each other. He always had his computers and stuff in front of him, so he couldn't see anybody. So it's real easy when you don't see somebody to be a character, and we played it off so well for so many years. I mean, we do live performances, and they turn the lights down, and I would be dressed up, and some people would know, but nobody seemed to care. And it was just, I mean.
So wait, I still don't understand who Ned is. So nobody cared. So that's basically like you being a puppet for yourself, because nobody cares that there's somebody behind it who is actually the person. But who the fuck is Ned? Like, who is he?
Well, most people did not even know. They believed that he was real. I mean, Ned was just, he was a voice I did for prank calls.
I believed it was real when I first started listeing in the Sirius years for a long time. I really did. I felt it took me a buddy had to sit me down and explain it to me, and I was like, it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Like,
it really
Santa
did.
isn't real.
Well, I always tell the story of some guy came up to me and said, "Man, I was in the bathroom during your performance, and some guy came in and he punched his fist right through the drywall." And I said, "What's going on, buddy?" And he said, "I just found out Santa Claus isn't real." Kind of power that Ned had.
So could you describe Ned for Monique?
Ned would be Well, I mean, on the surface, he's a elderly country gentleman who's very mentally, he's actually very sophisticated, but also has very bad sexual proclivities. He may have done various felonies in the past, and he has the ability to say and do anything.
No filter.
And people either believe it or love it.
Yeah.
I used to just flip people off, and that was like that made their week. They were just like, "Oh my God, Ned flipped me off."
Ned may or may not have had experience with farm animals and or glory holes at some point in his life.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I don't know. What does Ned sound like as opposed to your normal voice?
This is Ned. Ned should be. I should be knocking on Howard's door right now.
Ned? Who did you vote for in the last election?
I don't vote. I'm not stupid. It's a fantasy, darling. Wake up and smell the coffee. Do you think that senile guy got 80 million votes? Do you think a reality star got elected president? Get the fuck out of here.
Where does Ned live, actually?
You can see me. They see and hear me every Friday morning, 7:45 to 11 a.m. I fucking bang out parody songs. I rage. I smoke crack. I do it all, man. Tune in your head. Friday, 7:45. Cluster F Show. Twitch.tv/Cluster F Show. Motherfuckers.
Woo!
Ned's so easy. I wish if I was Ned, I would be retired right now. It's so easy.
I love Ned. God damn, I love it.
I'm crying.
So much better than me. He's so much better than me.
Well, let me ask you a really stupid question. So if everybody loves Ned so much, why are you only doing him on Fridays?
Because it's hard as fuck.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to do a show with three people. It's hard to do one by yourself. I mean,
Right.
like
Does that kill your voice after a little bit, though, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I take a nap and then wake up and we do the bar show and I get drunk again.
So is Ned completely extemporaneous? Like, is he just shooting shit out, or do you actually plan out what you're going to do for him?
I'd be like a 30% planned, 70% just wing it.
Nice.
Eat a cookie, get some natty lights, and wing it.
That's always some of my favorite stuff. And even back in the Bubba days, man, like sometimes you and Bubba would just get into a back and forth with Ned, and you could, it's every now and then, you did such a great job by not just busting out laughing, but every now and then you kind of feel it for just a second, but then you just keep pushing through it, and it was just hilarious shit, man.
That's why it just blows my mind. I mean, who knows what his reasons were. I mean, if they're all financial or whatever, why he wanted, kind of drove me out. But it's like, how do you give up on that chemistry?
Right.
I mean, we had a magic. I mean, that you can't find in this industry.
So can you kind of talk to that? I mean, I don't know what you can or can't say, but
say whatever the fuck I want.
I mean, I know towards the end there that, like, I know you were pushing harder and harder for more shows and more content, and I know that you finally you just kind of became kind of a beaten dude and just kind of was just like, what the fuck? But I've heard you mention that you kind of felt like he was trying to push you out, and can you elaborate on that any?
I can elaborate on it. I still won't understand it, because like somebody who works for you for 23 years, and I was a loyal employee. I always had the shows back. I was there. Whatever needed done, I always did my job. Why don't you just come to that person and say, hey, times are tough, man. Can't afford you anymore. But I don't know. You're such a narcissist that you have to force that person out so that it wasn't on you. I think that's what it was. He's such a narcissist that he wanted it to be on me, even though he did. I mean, to me, this is one of the greatest radio personalities of all time. Our show, maybe not, obviously, without me, but one of the greatest radio shows of all time. Just doing horrible radio intentionally. And I'd be saying stuff on the air like, this is garbage. What are we doing here? And he'd laugh and say, no, babe, it's great. so I would leave, and I was too stupid to see it because I was just there too long, and I was just used to the lies and the bullshit.
Yeah.
And I just thought he was just going through a weird phase or whatever. And my wife Donna's like, he's trying to make you quit, and I was like, why would he do that?
Yep.
You're 100% right.
So how
Yeah.
did he get you out? What was the straw that broke the proverbial camel?
It's such a long sordid story. See, hang on a second, I'm gonna get a sip of water for this one. My son does cluster F with me. Trace,
Yeah.
I do it with Trace and my wife Donna, and Trace was on doing cluster F. And then when we did the Bubba 98.7 thing, and I gave him a bunch of CDs of best ofs of cluster F because I was kind of pitching my show for a midday show, and he comes back to me and he's like, "Oh my God, Trace is so funny. Oh my God, Trace is so, oh my God." He's doing a way over the top deal. He's so fucking funny. So we brought Trace in, and Trace was on the show for a couple years, and Trace, he did well, and he had his own show with Tuttle afterwards. And that was killing it. I mean, that was killing. And, I forgot what I was talking about. Okay,
We're talking about how you guys broke up.
So when things started going south and he lost 98.7 because of the ratings deal and nobody would touch him, and he'd been fired by all three markets in Tampa. And then we were on the AM station and we weren't making any money. I think somebody told him whether it was monetarily or for some reason he felt he needed to ditch me. And he just started doing he wouldn't try anything. Nobody, I was like, let's try this. Let's do this. Come on, we can do it. We got a pretty decent Twitch audience. Why don't we just, he had this thing called the hot mic. And that's when he takes a break, which is like 8 times a morning. It's 8 minutes. It's a shit ton of time. And, we were doing back when, everybody seemed on the same page. Trace was doing crazy stuff. I was doing crazy stuff during the hot mics, trying to get, people to really think that was a great part of the show. Nowhere else you're getting the hot mic. And then it just died, and he didn't want to do anything nobody to do anything on the hot mic. And then he wouldn't do this. And I tried to do this and it wouldn't work. And then I tried to do work in my production studio and nobody would fix it. And, I got to where I wouldn't do anything extra. I was like, fuck that. I'm not, trying to do all this shit when they're not going to, when it comes down to it, they'll say I can't do it anyway. But I damn sure did my job, because I will never put out something that's not, I'm not going to be lazy and put out not funny shit. I mean, that's embarrassing to me. So, he had me painted to like somebody who gave up, and I was sleeping during the show. And when it was
you gave up. Meanwhile, he's the one who's self-sabotaging. He's like a fucking teenage girl cutting himself in the fucking corner, and
I can't add much more to that. I think we've nailed the analogy.
At some point, though, are you not reading the room and saying, fuck, he's self-sabotaging. This thing isn't long for us. Was it a factor of maybe, and I think what you said is true, maybe you were with him for such a long time that you stopped reading the room, and you didn't really get that this was kind of like the downfall. I mean, because I feel like you should be so much bigger and so much, greater than the sum of your stupid parts that were on Bubba's show,
I really, I don't know what to say. I didn't, I didn't network. I believed too long because we always landed on our feet. He would do stupid shit, get fired. Hey, landed on our feet. He would do stupid shit, get fired. Hey, we landed on our feet. This happened like 4 or 5 times. It didn't matter what happened. We were invincible. And, even when things start going south and you're on AM, you're just still under that delusion that,
but that honestly, that stops when you realize that jumping off of the roof to get your fucking ball when you're in school is really not, you're probably not going to land on your feet every fucking time you jump off. And, Bubba, by the point he was doing that show, a lot of people saw that it was like, fuck, he's really fucking himself at this point.
Okay. I blew it. I totally.
This is where I was going. This is where I was going. Thank you.
I should have left years ago.
This is where I'm going.
I'm a complete asshole. You're right.
So do you not talk to him anymore?
Oh, it's so hilarious. He used to be on the show going, Manson, they're my best friend in the whole world. They're my best friend. And he would like go on for 5 minutes trying to convince me he was my best friend. We never did anything together. You know, he didn't want to do anything with me ever. He was,
Wow.
you know, he didn't even, I don't think even, you know, deep down, I don't think he liked me at all. But, you know, we went into the God, and we had great times together. I mean, you know, you're with somebody for 23 years and you do great radio and you laugh that much. You know, you would think that you had like, you know, some kind of connection to him, but we'll never fucking talk again.
You're so weird that you would say, I don't think he ever really liked me. Meanwhile, you're with him 20 some odd years, working with a guy, you know, pretty much every fucking living and breathing moment. How could you
Hindsight's
possibly-
2020, though.
Well, but that's what narcissists are like too.
Yeah,
They're threatened
yes.
by people who are smarter or prettier or more talented than them. And Manson is way more talented than Bubba.
I can't believe he worked with me for as long as he did, because for his whole career, he had to hear that. I mean, people would come up,
Yep.
you know, they'd come up to him, you know, me and him, and say, "Oh man, you're the show, Ned," or "You're the show, Manson," and you know, like that. Hate that shit.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we stayed as long as we did.
That's curious. So did he ever try to temper that down and not let you be that person? Like, did he ever try to kind of squash your ideas or make you not as relevant on the show?
You know, I think there was plenty of squashing going on, but it was, you know, it was like behind the scenes squashing. Like I never did. In my 23 years of radio on that show, did I not get one request for an interview.
Really?
Oh, weird.
From that I know of.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think there could have been a lot of squashing, because it was all, you know, it was all just Bubba and everything's under the Bubba umbrella. And I didn't seek to, you know, I should have done, you know, I did the Pagans and Potheads. I sold it out when I performed at the Ritz. I sold 600 tickets. You know, I did I'm Right, You're Wrong, you know, on Twitch. I had 600 or 700 viewers every day. But you know,
I have a thought.
I was just,
Bubba,
you know, I'm an easy
was Bubba a Buchwald client?
Was he?
No.
Buchwald.
No.
I don't know that. I do not know that, you guys.
We tried to get him to do that, but he wasn't interested.
No, Tom Bean's always been his agent / manager. Like since day one. I mean, those two are in cahoots together on quite a bit of weird, shady shit.
Yeah,
in my
interesting
opinion.
to me, because I had heard the rumor that there was this Buchwald agent that was also Bubba's agent, who also had sex with Mrs. Clem, and that the Hogan thing was not a one of. So that was just the only one that got fucking caught.
Well, the Hogan thing was definitely not a one of. You know, we find out in some of those court documents that, you know, his best friend Denzel from Indiana had a tape with her, which he blatantly admits to. And
Jeez.
There's a couple others, but as far as the Buchwald stuff, I hadn't heard that one.
Well, Spice Boy was a Buchwald client.
Yeah. So the only reason I say this is because we had found out on one of our rumor shows that Fred from the Howard Stern show was actually never told about certain parts that that they wanted him to be up for, because Buchwald didn't allow it to happen because they wanted to keep him on the show.
I'm sure.
Wow.
Well, that's probably true of Tom Bean then.
That happens, you know, in almost every business, I think. You
Right.
know? That's just, well, not everywhere, but you know, I think that happened to me for sure. But hey, you know, I had a great run.
You did.
If I went back and did it all over again, you know, I got to spend so much time with my family for 23 years.
Yeah.
I was able to do my job and then come home and do whatever I needed for the next day, you know, and then have plenty of time for my family. And back in the day when we were rolling, we would take 5-6 weeks vacation a year. It was a great, you know, so
yeah, and like you said, Manson, you know, he didn't, you know, if you didn't want to be around for certain bits and shit, like with the, you know, with the strippers and stuff, like you didn't have to, you could leave and there was no questions asked. You could, you know, come and go and do what you want. And that's having that kind of freedom is amazing.
It is. The investigator for Cox, who came out and, you know, deposed me about one of the bullshit lawsuits, said, called it the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I had platinum handcuffs, man. It was like such an easy gig that, you know, I'm not the most motivated guy in the world. I'm just doing my job. If I'd have worked, you know, twice as hard, man, I would have been, you know, I could have left a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I like
That's another way a narcissist traps you, though.
Yeah, he made it too easy. Made it so.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, when I could say, "Hey, can I take 2 weeks off? I stubbed my toe." Yeah, you get that toe better, man. You just get that toe better, buddy. How do you leave that job?
Was his foundation on the up and up? Because I heard him say one day on the air that he bought that smart car through his foundation for promotions. So I have a feeling that he's buying a lot of stuff through that foundation for personal use.
I would never be, privy to anything like that. I was never privy to anything. The only thing I was privy to was like they call them the watchwinders, which would be the people meters in the shed.
Right.
Because he took me back there and he's like, "Look at these people meters." He's like, "I got them here, and I've got them all in a vibrating tray, so it simulates somebody walking around."
Wait, so are you confirming that rumor was true?
Yeah, it's not a rumor. I mean, he had multiple ppms in the shed with a vibrating little cat litter trays, or whatever, so that they would seem like people were walking around. They weren't.
Sure. Yeah.
That is the downfall of Bubba right there. But I do have a question about back at Sirius, just really quickly. Were you able to? Did they ever give you an idea as to how big your audience was? Like, how did you ever quantify the audience over at Sirius?
Okay. Once again, I'm an asshole. I never really delved into that stuff. I was like, "We're doing great, Manson. All right, that's all I need to know."
Like, how do you know you're crushing it?
We're getting because they told me.
Well, and the paychecks are still coming in. You're still getting paid a good amount of money.
Here's the only fact that I was ever privy to was that as far as phone call volume went, our show was the biggest of every show, and I do mean every show.
Wow.
So people
That's
trying to
awesome.
call in to your 800 number to get on air?
Yes.
I can believe that. I mean, you guys had, just with the trucker guys alone, that was huge back in the day.
Oh, FTEs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's talking a national audience. Everyone in we went to, on tour probably to 10 different states and to Canada, and we attracted sellout crowds everywhere. We had a national audience. Now he's on AM radio.
Man, even just some of the ancillary stories from when you guys went to Canada that were, not part of your performance and stuff, but just stuff, before and after shows were great stories.
Oh, I lived, I got to live the rock and roll lifestyle without having to be a rock star.
Without the pay.
Yeah.
So besides Cluster F, is this your mainstay of work now? Is this what you're doing?
I really never even looked for a job because I don't know if what I do is even valued or in demand now. It's like I want to push people's buttons. I want to make people uncomfortable. I want to make you think. Who wants that? Nobody.
We get enough of that on Twitter. Thank you.
I love the show.
I want to I want to do compelling things. I don't want to just be, a hype guy and, everything out there is so vanilla and bullshit that I love what I'm doing now. I'd take a side gig because I don't really want to give this up. I'd take something to promote what I'm doing now because eventually I think anybody who's compelling is going to be on their own website.
The N-word or call.
Were walking around. They weren't.
Sure. Yeah.
That is the downfall of Bubba right there. But I do have a question about back at Sirius, just really quickly. Were you able to did they ever give you an idea as to how big your audience was? Like, how did you ever quantify the audience over at Sirius?
Okay,
That's a good
okay.
question.
Once again, I'm an asshole. I never really delved into that stuff, you know. I was like, we're doing great, Manson. All right, that's all I need to know.
Like, how do you know you're crushing it?
Right.
We're getting well because they told me.
Well, and the paychecks are still
Yeah.
coming in. You know, you're still getting paid a
Right.
good amount of money. You know,
Here's the only fact that I was ever privy to was that as far as phone call volume went, our show was the biggest of every show, and I do mean every show.
Wow.
So people
That's
trying to call
awesome.
in to your 800 number to get on air?
Yes.
I can believe that. I mean, you guys had, I mean, just with the trucker guys alone, I mean, that was huge back in the day.
Oh, FTEs. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking a national audience. Everyone in the, you know, we went to, you know, on tour probably to 10 different states and to Canada, and we attracted sellout crowds everywhere. We had a national audience. Now he's on AM radio.
Man,
And where's
even
he
just some of
living?
the ancillary stories from when you guys went to Canada that were, you know, not part of your performance and stuff, but just stuff, you know, before and after shows were great stories.
Oh, I mean, you know, I lived, you know, I got to live the rock and roll lifestyle without having to be a rock star.
Without the pay.
Yeah.
So besides Cluster F, is this your mainstay of work now? Is this what you're doing?
I mean, you know, I really never even looked for a job because I don't know if what I do is even valued or in demand now. It's like I want to push people's buttons. I want to make people uncomfortable. I want to make you think. Who wants that? Nobody.
We get enough of that on Twitter. Thank you.
I love the show.
I want to
The
do
show.
yeah, I want to do compelling things. I don't want to just be, you know, a hype guy and, you know, everything out there is so vanilla and bullshit that I love what I'm doing now. I mean, I'd take a side gig because I don't really want to give this up. I'd take something to promote what I'm doing now because eventually I think anybody who's compelling is going to be on their own website because they're just going to kick everybody off if you say anything about anybody.
Well, that is
Yeah.
very big issue. You know, I run this forum. We have a couple of thousand people on it, and it gets very, very difficult. You know, I do it with my partner Xavier, who lives out in LA, and it becomes really difficult because people are just crazy, and some of them are really monsters. And it gets very, very hard to moderate what's right or wrong anymore. You know, most of you really wants to be able to say, fuck it, you know, let them say what they want. But the reality is it just gets really hard. You know, you almost have to start having like this group think kind of mentality. And you start to say to yourself, well, yeah, I guess if somebody says the N-word or calls somebody a Jew or something like that, you know, do I take them off immediately or do I sanction their right to say what they say? Or do they even really have the fucking right to say what they say? It's my website. I can do whatever the fuck I want, you know? And then you just kind of judiciously think to yourself, okay, do I want to hear that or do I don't? And 9 out of 10 times it's like, you know, fuck you. I don't want to hear this. And it does become a little bit of an echo chamber, I must admit. And so it gets very hard to be that person.
Yeah, well said. And I'm just doing what I'm doing and liking not having a boss, you know, not having to work, you know. I mean, there's things I can't say because of Twitch, you know. You can't, but those are things I'm really not saying anyway.
Right.
You know, I'm not really. I mean, I've always been into racial humor. I'm not into racist humor, and there's no distinction anymore. It's like you can't even be racial because then you're a racist. So it's like. It's really difficult. I'm doing a show with 25 called Race and Comedy, and we're going back through all the bits that I did. A lot of them contain him, and we're just discussing, you know, how he feels about it as a black man and whether he finds them to be racist. And I think it's great to be able to have a dialogue about that instead of just saying, "Oh, this stuff is racist and it's shit." Okay, right. Well, let's talk about it. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe
And what makes it racist to you versus me? And
Yeah.
you know,
When you guys used to do those bits, what was the name? It was Afro Cracker. That's what it was. Are you guys going to bring Afro Cracker back?
Probably.
wait, I have a
That's
question.
awesome.
I have an important question here. Do you own the rights to your bits? Like, do you own them, or does Bubba own what you've done in the past?
I own all my stuff.
So
And it doesn't really matter.
1,000% you should be flooding
Yeah.
your Twitch channel with new content, you know, at least 12 hours a day. Just put up best ofs and, you know, things that you've done in the past. People would love that. You should really, really foster that. I mean, it's easy to do. And if you own it, you should use it.
True. I have 1,000 bits. Probably 2,000. I mean, I've been 23 years. In the last year, I've written 300 parody songs. It's like I've got more material than anybody, ever.
How is that not up on air? You know,
And they're all great. They really are. Even the
They
Ned
are.
stuff.
Okay, I'm an asshole. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Can I call it once a week and you can motivate me to quit being an asshole?
Yes.
No.
yes.
The new Ned story time this morning was awesome.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've got
I
to
was
go back. I
laughing
missed
so
it this
hard.
morning. I got to go
You
back
gotta
and
hear
listen.
it. It's great.
I think it's
funny.
it's one of my favorite things that I came up with, because the thought of Ned saying the most god awful, inappropriate things to these sweet little children, and they come back with their one-liners that I've written for them, and it's just so much fun, because now I did it with my kids, and now I'm doing it with my grandkids.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because I remember some of those that, like, even Tyler, was it, that you had all your kids and Tyler and everybody, and, tell us, the Bible verses stuff. I mean, that stuff is just legendary.
Oh, it's so much fun. And yeah, I'm not that old. Trace made me a grandfather really early.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
All right. So, Mike, thank you so much for being on this show with us. We really, really appreciate you coming on and being like super honest and speaking about things that happened in the past. We love stories like this, and we really appreciate giving us a little time. And it took me a few minutes to get back to you on Twitch, so apologies in advance about that.
All right. It was a good time, and let me plug some stuff real quick here.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You can find Cluster F Show on Facebook. Our Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Cluster F Show. And that's about all we got going on. Podcast. Just Google Cluster F. You can find our podcast as well.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. So thank you so much for doing this. Go ahead. Sorry, guys.
Excuse me. So sorry. When is this going to air so I can send my listeners your way?
Oh, I would love that. Okay, so there doesn't seem like there's anything bad that I need to edit out of it. So I'm probably just going to turn it around, give it a header, and maybe I'll put it up like tomorrow after your show is over.
Okay, that sounds
That
great.
would be great.
I'll let them know. All right,
Yeah,
hey,
definitely.
it was a lot of fun, guys.
Hey,
All right,
Manson,
thank
I'm a
you.
big fan, man. It's good talking to you
too.
again.
I wish I could help you out more, Sketchy.
No, hey, I get it, dude. I do. I get it. I totally get it. No hard feelings at all.
All right, man. Hey, thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Mike.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. All right, guys.
Yeah.
That
That
was
was
fun.
great. That was awesome.
All right, so we
Well-
like that.
I am Ned's biggest fangirl, so I loved it.
All right, awesome. Listen, he's very honest. He was very forthright. I totally appreciated the conversation. This was good. This was like a nice little, just a nice little view into what's going on with him, and a little bit of Brent and things that we love. So yeah,
We
cool.
covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
From
I
the
don't
Howard
think we-
days to the Bubba days. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we did anything unfair either. I think it was a pretty honest and genuine conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. So let me do an ending here, and then let me talk to you guys for a few seconds.
Okay.
Well, okay. So that is my ending there. So yeah. So that's all I was gonna say. So thank you guys for listening to the show. And again, hopefully when this goes live on YouTube and on Twitch, we'll be able to chat with you guys about it. And if you have any questions, and hopefully we can answer it. Okay. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon. Bye.
I've been racking my brain trying to figure out a subject that Brent knows nothing about. I'm beginning to think maybe there isn't any.
Brent knows everything. Just ask him.
Brent's intelligence quotient.
Intelligence quotient, you idiot.
Must be at least 293. His knowledge is so potent.
I'll challenge you to an IQ test any day, buddy.
Or is he just a bullshit king? He baffled me with bullshit.
He baffled me with bullshit.
His knowledge keeps on rambling.
All the way to Gainesville. It's called Jacksonville and West Palm, you dumbass. I've got a theory about the sniper. It's a French assassin who was subcontracted out by Al-Qaeda to cause havoc.
Politics or world affairs. Baffled me with bullshit.
The greatest Marine to ever live was Chesty Pullard, 5 times awarded the Navy Cross.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Can't stop him, he knows it all. Baffled me with bullshit.
I just want to tell Brent Hatley, Washington, D.C. is not a state, you dumbass.
Bullshit.
Washington, D.C. is a state, you moron. Brent, you dumbass. Washington, D.C. is not a state. I'll have to check on that.
Bullshit.
Brent knows everything. Just ask him. Brent knows everything. Brent knows everything. Brent knows everything.
His IQ is so potent. He's Albert Einstein, Brent Hatley. All knowledge he is knowing.
Brent knows everything. Just ask him.
It's all in the delivery. He baffled me with bullshit.
He baffled me with bullshit.
Degree in bullshitology.
You know, the longest touchdown pass ever thrown in Southeastern Conference history was not thrown by a quarterback. It was actually thrown by a wide receiver named Chris Collinsworth, a Florida Gator.
Good heavens, Mr. Hatley. You're omnipotent. I don't believe it. There he goes again. He's opened up his mouth and filled the room with bullshit again. Football, religion, is there anything he doesn't know? Or is it fabrication? Brent's intelligence quotient must be about 293. His knowledge is so potent. Or is he just a bullshit king? He baffled me with bullshit.
He baffles me with bullshit.
Degree in bullshitology.